Now remember, I don't want you talking to him unless I'm around. You hear? Yes, Dad. I'm serious. Now tuck in your shirt. He's here. The front door swung open, and there stood Uncle Tommy, drenched in sweat from a day's work in the summer heat. It's a scorcher out there, ain't it? He said, putting his bag on the floor and untying his boots. I appreciate you letting me crash for the night. Just so long as you're gone in the morning, my dad replied coldly. Of course. Now, Uncle Tommy said, turning to me and lowering himself to a knee. Where's my hug at? Been a while since I seen you last. I took a couple steps toward him and leaned in for a hug. His tight embrace made me uncomfortable, and I let out a light whimper. Don't you know it's 100 degrees out there? He asked, tugging at my long sleeves. I haven't been outside today, I recited to him. Don't you have some chores to finish up? Dad interjected. I knew that was my cue to leave, so I shuffled off to my room. Later that night, I lay in bed, tossing and turning, unable to be comfortable, when I heard the thud of footsteps in the hallway outside my bedroom. After several long seconds of silence, the door opened quietly. The dark silhouette of a man entered the room, and the door closed again. For several more seconds, there was nothing but unrelenting silence. I might have thought I had dreamt it all if it weren't for the sound of hushed breath being carefully released. I could feel him getting nearer. The warmth of another person in the room was unfamiliar at this hour. I was not prepared for this. I prayed he would go away, to even come back in the morning if he must. He reached down and touched me. He rolled me onto my stomach and lifted up my shirt. From the corner of my eye I could see two things: the faint beam of a pocket flashlight, and Uncle Tommy's eyes studying my bare skin. His rough fingers ran up and down my back. Suddenly he got up and walked to the bedroom door and left. I tried again to fall asleep, eventually succeeding. He was gone by the time I awoke. Around noon, the phone rang when my father was out. Hello? I answered. Hey, buddy. Uncle Tommy? Yeah, your dad around? No, sir. Went to the store. Good, he said, sounding a bit nervous. He paused for a moment. I'm calling about last night. I don't know if you were awake or... I was. Well then, I'll just get right to it. I've got a question for you, and I need for you to be honest with me. Can you do that? Yes, sir. How'd you get all them bruises? I used to live in a small building downtown. One of the reasons I moved out was a bad neighborhood, including this guy in the apartment right over mine. It was a weird looking fella who mostly kept to himself. Around midnight, though, there was a frequently strange noise that got on my nerves. It wasn't loud, to be fair, but I have a really light sleep, so it's hard to get my eyes shut with those little bumping sounds going on and on. It reminded me of high heels walking about, but not as loud, as if the person causing the noise was actually trying to be silent. After a few days, I realized the pattern was always the same, like a record playing over and over again, with random intervals in between. And that went on for the best part of a year. Always the same sequence of bumps, slowly tattooed into my mind, sometimes for hours straight during the night. It was only several years later, helping my daughter with her homework, that I learned a little bit of Morse code. She knocked on the table with her knuckles, and a shiver immediately went through my spine as I recognized the exact pattern. When I asked her what it meant, she laughed. It's the easiest one, Daddy, she said. It's the one to call for help. I hate it when my brother Charlie has to go away. My parents constantly try to explain to me how sick he is, that I'm lucky for having a brain where all the chemicals flow properly to their destinations like undammed rivers. When I complain about how bored I am without a little brother to play with, they try to make me feel bad by pointing out that his boredom far likely surpasses mine, considering he's confined to a dark room in an institution. I always beg for them to give him one last chance. Of course they did at first. Charlie has been back home several times, each shorter in duration than the last. Every time without fail, it all starts again. The neighborhood cats with gouged out eyes showing up in his toy chest. My dad's razors found dropped on the baby slide in the park across the street. Mom's vitamins replaced by bits of dishwasher tablets. My parents are hesitant now, using last chances sparingly. They say his disorder makes him charming, makes it easy for him to fake normalcy, and to trick the doctors who care for him into thinking he's ready for rehabilitation. That will just have to put up with my boredom if it means staying safe from him. I hate it when Charlie has to go away. It makes me have to pretend to be good until he's back.